should I go out with a bell? Okay. Let's give ourselves 2 minutes. I'm gonna go down there again. So 2 minutes. I'm back. Or let's say we're starting at 1:20. US Department of Energy, DOE. So all I'm trying to say is she's and okay, I didn't mean that literally. I didn't mean that literally. Okay. Yes, very, very important. That's what I meant by it. Okay, and then we have Dr. Archibald Kofi, who intervened for me. He is Acting Director, Nuclear Power Institute, Ghana, Atomic Energy Agency. And then we have Edwin Chiseri, who is the Nuclear Security and Safeguards Expert for NUPIA. And then we have Karen Benson, Special Assistant to Deputy Assistant Secretary Alicia Duncan, Office of International Cooperation of Energy, US Department of Energy. She's also a big woman. In fact, all the people here, big women and big men. So a round of applause to all of them. And going with the tradition, this time I'm going to ask them to choose which of the flavors they want. And then I'm just going to set it by their side because they're not coming to the podium. So,
Red, please. So he has already insulted me. Let's go ahead and check the vibe. Ladies, do we ever tell a woman she's a big woman?
Our second choice. And above all, money answers everything. Yeah? And that is why you need to be able now to see how can I finance these huge, potentially having a game changer in Africa, how to ensure first, the second nuclear power plant on the grid. Thank you, Madam Alicia.
Thank you so much, Jasira. We just dropping gems. Okay, they clapped for that. I think it was everything part. Note when you're considering your next steps in marital money, apparently answers everything because I thought I conquered all, but apparently, okay. So Archie, Dr. Archibald, next question goes to you. So you've been with the USANES brand from the beginning. And we did this same type of event last month. The president joined and made a very powerful statement about nuclear. So I have two questions for you. One, how important is a collegial yet leadership-supported statement and understanding about where the government is going on nuclear? And for the broader Africa, what do you see as USANES' role in bringing the continent together?
Thank you, Alicia. It's exciting to be here at the second edition of the USANE, and it's being organized rightfully under the Ghana Regional Clean Energy Training Center. National position and to a large extent, the support from the topmost government officials are important for any nuclear program. And for a president to make a bold statement at an international event of that nature speaks a lot of the commitment of his government, his person, and also it gives the intention where they want to drive the nation in terms of energy security as a country, and also put impetus into his agenda in terms of industrialization. So that is one. The role of USANES in Africa's drive for nuclear energy cannot be overemphasized. And I believe that is the reason why we partner with the Department of Energy to set up what we call the Regional Clean Energy Training Center. And the center basically is to build capacity of not just Ghanaians, but people from the region, to be able to support our nuclear programs, for us to collaborate in areas where we have competencies and we have capabilities to support each other's program to drive the Africa's nuclear agenda. So, yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Archibald. May I call you Archie?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, Karen, down to you. Karen, you've had the, I don't know that we'll call it privilege, we might call it trauma, but you've had the privilege of organizing, being on the organizing team of both last year's and this year's. And obviously in numbers, in countries, we continue to grow. And I wonder, just in terms of the key takeaways you have seen over the last 2 days, what are some of those things that you'd like to highlight? And how do you see those themes recurring from last year, if at all?
Well, I think that one of the key takeaways, I've been amazed by the amount of student interest. It's really been, I was super surprised by the numbers of people who were interested. And that just shows that you have a population across the continent of people who are looking for fantastic opportunities and reaching and getting them the training and skills that they need to be effective and to help make this a success on the continent. And towards that end, I was really glad.
Young people are out here with every right, protesting, demanding their rights, start a new job, want to be vice president the next day. They are very much emboldened and entitled. So I would submit to you that one thing that will make innovation, a nuclear program, any policy, would be to listen to the young people. Their voice is important. This baton will be passed to them because the seasoning does not last forever. That means we're going to have a group of young people who will sound way more excited later on in a few minutes. We're going to have to pass this baton over to them. So I think it's critically important that we see young people as a partner and definitely listen to their voice. Thank you. Something else you said, Karen, was talking about stakeholder engagement. And I took the opportunity to sit with someone at lunch, and I want to mess up your camera scheme really quickly and see how good Emmanuel's team is, and invite you to come join me up here so everybody can see you. How you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna actually give you the mic against everything I said earlier today, okay? All right. So we had lunch. I'm gonna allow you to introduce yourself and tell us what you do. But first, I have found USANES, the first one I found, first nuclear convert. Y'all better clap loud. So I want you to tell the people how you came here. Also mention that you traveled and how far and what you do. It's always on.
Thank you. My name is Helen Detty. I am a member of County Assembly for Machakos County. I am in the Energy Committee with Madam Speaker of the only speaker in the nation for Machakos County. And we were invited to attend this summit. And yesterday when I came, in my mind, I thought nuclear was not the right thing for Kenya to go for, because when you think of nuclear energy, I'm not a scientist, but you think of the bad things about nuclear. And I was also wondering why Kenya would want to embrace nuclear plants when we already have electricity produced through geothermal, hydro, wind. I thought we had enough electricity. Even though I'm in the Energy Committee in Machakos, maybe some of that information might not be with us because energy is not involved. But at least from yesterday, I must say that I've learned the importance of Kenya embracing nuclear plants because we should be able to get cheaper electricity and be able to use the nuclear in other areas like I had cancer in hospitals, and so I'm just learning. So mine is to say that I think it's worth coming. I'm a stakeholder because I'm also a legislator, and in case there is any policy required at county level, I will definitely be able to support.
Izzy, where's the chocolate? Izzy, I got this, okay? See, that's what men fail to understand. Where's the chocolate? Get the chocolate, bring it to the lady. That's what you're gonna do. Lord, have mercy. See, they think women can't run nothing. Thank you so much. Yes, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker. Lord, I'm so sorry, y'all. Let me sit down because Izzy gonna make me. Woo. All right, so do we have our ushers in place for questions? Do we have our ushers in place for questions? Well, and I'll go ahead and, while they get position with the microphones, I'll go ahead and ask one more round of questions. Chisire, so we've been working on the concept of having USANES here before we even knew it was going to be called USANES. And even before, before the pandemic, right? We were supposed to come. And I'm curious as to what you believe a conference like this in Kenya does for two things. One, how the government engages internationally on nuclear.
Wow, thank you so much, Alicia. And I believe actually that's a very good question because we were planning for this event back in the 2019-2020. In fact, we were supposed to have such an event in Mombasa, but because of pandemic, we were not able to have it. But I think one thing that I've learned, that consistency beats anything, because Alicia has been consistent. If there is any definition of consistent, she is before you. And actually, it has been something which we have been looking forward to. And if you can, I hope my CEO was here. In fact, this is the event that we wanted the head of state to make a national declaration on nuclear energy. That is the reason. In fact, the USANES 2024 was a turning point of the nuclear power program in this country. And we believe, yes, it is, because we hope that tomorrow we shall be having our Prime Cabinet Secretary coming to open, and hopefully there is what we call Nairobi Declaration, which is going not only to chart the way forward for the continent of Africa, but also to the nation of Kenya, for us to be able now to reap maximum on the issue of nuclear technology. So USANES, it's wonderful, and I believe it is a trend which started in Ghana, came to Kenya, going to Rwanda, and to the 54 countries of Africa. And at the end of the day, each country, when we shall be having our first nuclear power plant, we shall remember how we began in Ghana, we supported in Kenya, and we took off in Rwanda. So thank you so much.
Oh no, I've never had Chisire on a panel, but my goodness, okay. All right, so Karen, let me come down to you. So what would you think, perhaps a lesson learned, consider moving USANES forward? That could be a few things, but looking at the workshop, maybe even the workshop format, even the USANES brand, is there anything that sticks out to you that we might give more consideration to as we move forward?
I think that we, just based on the last 2 times, the workshops are absolutely fantastic. I think we need to also make sure that we're shaping them for a very broad audience, and that we're keeping in mind we have a lot of students, but we also have a lot of nuclear curious people. And so we need to make sure that we're speaking to that broader audience. And again, as I mentioned before, emphasizing what the ripple effect of nuclear and what that can mean for communities and countries, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I would say. We've got to continue that conversation.
Thank you. Let me come right back to you with this question, because you mentioned nuclear curious. I like that. And we've talked about the communication aspect and how we are having conversations, might not be with people that have any information on nuclear, or might even have a perception of nuclear that is due to misinformation. So is there a point that we should think about in how we communicate and how things are structured so that they appeal to that broader audience? I think that's what you were teasing out for us, that we need to look more at how the communication is done and maybe look at, I'll let you talk because I'm just...
Well, no, I think you really hit the nail on the head, which is USANES is a microcosm of how we need to be messaging to the broader community. And so, I do think we can have a messaging workshop, but we also, sometimes I think even when we're doing an industry-focused event, there are a lot of other industries that we're not thinking about. And especially for the youth who are very interested in AI, tech, that's going to require data centers. That's going to be, how is that going to be powered? There's so many opportunities, and it really can have a huge ripple effect. And I think we're thinking about nuclear, we need to think about it in a much broader way than maybe people on the inside are thinking about it, and that makes it resonate with even a broader audience.
Thank you kindly. Now this last question will be for you before we go to our audience to take a few questions. Archie, what would you hope in a few years, let's just say 2 years, we already are going to make an announcement, and I'm going to not steal Dr. Zerbo's, but what would you hope in the next 2 years under the USANE brand that we can do to pull more countries in? And what would be, if you were king for a day, the 2 areas that we should focus on in terms of training or licensure or whatever you think is important? What would be the 2 topical areas that you think are a really needed area for us to focus on as the USANES brand for the entire continent?
So if you allow me, I'll start from your second question. So this workshop has highlighted 2 of the critical areas that all embarking countries face. Yesterday's workshops, stakeholder engagement and human resource development, are 2 of the critical issues that face African countries or all embarking countries. So those are areas that under the Clean Energy Training Center we can focus our attention on. Yesterday they highlighted issues of stakeholder engagement in Kenya. We've also had our own challenges in Ghana. We had a perception survey in 2021, and the result was, it wasn't so shocking, and not so surprising, because nuclear has never been part of our formal education. About 75% of the population, or those who responded to the questionnaire, never had any idea about nuclear or nuclear related. And that has resulted us and informed us to embark on a nationwide campaign, which we've dubbed NICE, Nuclear Information, Communication, Education Campaign. We're hoping to have a 5-year campaign, which would, at the end of the campaign, two things would happen. Seeking to include nuclear education from the basic level, and from that, it does two things for us. It brings out informed youth to get to know about nuclear, and secondly, it gives them the opportunity to consider STEM, and more specifically nuclear, as a career option. The second thing is, if we're able to do the nationwide sensitization, we hope to have a more informed population. So those are critical areas, and I believe all African countries face similar challenges in different ways. But the brand itself, we promised to make it better, improve it each year. This year has been very informative. The workshop, the selection of the topics were very crucial in setting the tone for where we need to go. The theme itself, industrial readiness, that by itself is also so much important for Africa, because we need to set our industries ready to be able to play a meaningful role in our individual nuclear projects. So,
thank you so much. Okay, so let's go to the audience. If there are questions, please raise your hand. If you have comments, I see one up in the front. So if we could come to the front with the microphone, please. And again, the ushers will hold the microphone, and they will not permit life stories, because I want to get to all the questions. I believe I've been granted some extra time because somebody in this room likes me. Question, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm Vainadu Ingana, Director of Research, Minister of Education. I would like to ask this question, and I want you to make a comparison adjustment. I want us to picture nuclear energy as a tree we want to grow in Africa, a tree. And therefore the question is, how are we preparing the ground as a farmer to grow this tree? How are we preparing the seed to grow this tree? Sure that this tree can grow, can be nurtured to grow. Give it the nutrients it deserves. Give it the right environment it deserves. And when it is growing, it can be managed effectively and efficiently. Who comprises the tree trunk? It's growing. Where are the branches of this tree? And if ever we reach the level of harvesting fruit from this tree, what constitutes the fruit? This is my question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we had the tree, we had the growth, we had the fruit. That's a lot to happen with the tree. But what I want to do, and I'm going to prepare because I just do what I want. So I'm going to ask, since the question was about Africa, I'm going to ask both Jasire and Archie to respond. Now then, I'm going to take whatever privilege I have and then ask Lisa Marshall for you to give some thoughts on if there's anything additional that the fruit, the tree, whatever else was supposed to, the farmer, all of that, okay? So why don't we please first start with Cesare.
Thank you so much, Bishop Ingana, for the question. And I think you have put it very clearly. And let me just, as a matter of answering the question, one thing we believe that nuclear is like a gospel, is like religion, where you need to have the pastor who can be able now to preach the gospel. Then you need to have the converts who are supposed to believe in it. And then when you have and then you have the fruits of people going to heaven. But coming to the tree and now how to do it is that indeed actually when we have been sitting here is that we have heard how the International Atomic Energy Agency is preparing the world over to ensure that nuclear technology can be used in a peaceful way. So that at the end of the day, when you're preparing the ground, you need now to follow the prescribed regulation and international best practice. So that at the end of the day, when you have the three institutions, that is the regulator, that is the NAPIO, and that is the owner operator. These are the people who are supposed now to prepare the ground for you now to be able now to plant the seed. The seed now here is that we are working together with technology providers. For you to get a very, very viable seed, you need to have a technology that is proven, that is tested, that you're not going to be the first guinea pig. And at the end of the day, for you now the trunk to grow, then the regulator should be able now to be independent, to be effective, and to be able now to oversight whatever you are doing. And then as you grow, then you get the fruits, which is the peaceful uses of nuclear technology for electricity, which is cheap, which is efficient, which is clean, and which is reliable. Apart from the electricity, you can use the fruit of actually other benefits of water desalination, of industrial use, of health, and all these aspects. And then you have the tree, and then this is a religion which you need to follow, and I'm fast.
Let the church say amen. Let the church say amen. Y'all better give it to him. Pastor Chasira that came up here and spoke a word. I didn't understand the part about going to heaven, but I don't know. Okay, so Archie, we know that you can't talk that. So
I don't know after this sermon if I have any other thing to add. But what I can do is to share what we're doing in Ghana to address issues of human resource development. And I mentioned previously that we are embarking on a campaign, and one of them is to find a way of incorporating nuclear education from the basic level for them to have an understanding. Going forward, we've had MOUs with set number of technical universities to get them to understand the need of incorporating nuclear education into their programs. So with introduction of nuclear science-related programs in their curriculum. Fortunately, next month, we have an opportunity to visit one advanced country to understudy their nuclear curriculum, both at the technical vocational level and also at the BSc level. If you come to Ghana, in 2006, with the support of the IEA, we set up what we call the School of Nuclear and Allied Science. So we have a graduate program that has run for almost 18 years. So at that level, we have enough. We still collaborate with our international partners in terms of partnering them to establish training programs to support our activities, apart from the things that we are doing ourselves internally to ensure that we have a sustainable supply of human resource for our program. We partner with our development partners, including the US Department of Energy and other US government agencies to help support the capacity building programs that we have.
thank you, Archie. Now, Dr. Marshall, over to you. Dr. Marshall is the current president of the American Nuclear Society. And so that we can get you on the video, Dr. Marshall, would you mind just sort of joining me up here in the center? Because if not, you won't be on the camera, and then we won't have the president of the American Nuclear Society on our video that we have to have proof.
I was here. Thank you so much. Once again, my name is Lisa Marshall, and I have been in nuclear engineering at North Carolina State University for the last 21 years, working as a director for outreach, retention, and engagement. And to add to what you said, I would say that we have to go to the students where they are. They're in the classrooms, they're in the schools, but they're in the after-school programs. They're in the Saturday programs. There are programs that are in churches and community centers, etc. And we need to partner long term. This is not going to be a one-off, but we have to build that relationship with the educators, with the counselors, with the mentors in these other spaces that we find. I've been involved with the American Nuclear Society, oh my gosh, since 2005 as well, developing curricula with the team. And we have a good suite that we are continually upgrading and adding to as new technologies and new ways of learning come about. So that it's a transformative approach to engagement, really. An engagement with everyone that touches on those seeds, right? That then are going to be planted by the farmers, and the farmers are also in collaboration with each other, right? Best practices, lessons learned, thinking outside of the box, and thinking of the seeds as they're growing into seedlings and into young plants, also incorporating their viewpoint on what they've learned and how they want to learn for the next generation that's following behind. So it's a very generational approach to education and creating this ecology overall for us to continue to do what we do. And last thing I wanted to say is that it's about nuclear engineering, but it is also two things. It is about nuclear engineering, but in a larger scheme of things, it's about energy education. And what does that do for our societies as a whole, right? I always like to say these days that modern society, the crux of it is electrification and the use of the technology in all these various industries. And then also it's about partnerships. So the tree is not alone in the forest. There are many other trees there. And we are strong when we look at that partnership, right? So I think of some of the international organizations, and I see someone sitting right in front of me who has been a mentor to me and working with him now, Director General Magwood from NEA, the Nuclear Energy Agency. And then I look at Alicia, and we have worked together as well over the years. And there are a number of other organizations here that are ready to make sure that it's a forest and that and that we grow strong, right? The regreening of the earth has twofold meanings here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I just need to check in one more time on the students before we close this panel out. Students, make some noise. Y'all know what? Wait till those bills start coming, then y'all will have wished you would have screamed today. So I want to thank my esteemed panel for a great discussion. I want to thank those of you in the audience. And believe it or not, we're going to do back-to-back Alicia. But we're moving it on up several levels because the trees have already been full grown, borne fruit, made international impact. The people that I have coming to the stage next, y'all aren't gonna wanna miss it. So if I catch y'all outside in that area where there's no coffee, I'm coming out personally. I need you all to give us 5 minutes to reset the stage, and then I'm gonna bring the juggernauts of nuclear energy to the stage. Not to say that my friends here aren't amazing, but when I tell you the juggernauts are coming, y'all better be in these seats, okay? Deal? Deal? In the back, deal? All right, so thank you so much to you all. Thank you to my esteemed panel. That concludes this session.
Thank you very much, Alicia. Okay, great. So you don't have to go. We're just gonna we're gonna move the seats, add a few more to it, and then do some shifting, and then we're gonna get on with it. Now, while they're doing that, you remember my introduction when I talked about how they roasted me on Twitter, now X, because of a manel that I was part of. I reached out to the journalist who wrote that article, and I was like, okay, I'm in Kenya, and I would love to get to meet you. No hard feelings. I just want to meet you so we can have a conversation about stuff in Kenya in general. Then she said, unfortunately, she's not in Nairobi, in Kenya at the moment. I said, okay, that's fine. Then she comes back and I told her, well, I'm here for a summit on nuclear energy. And then she comes back to ask me, I hope you have female representation on the panel. Then all I needed to tell her was, the person who is convening the summit is a woman. I didn't have to add any more, but if she got to know who Alicia is, there'll be no doubt in her mind that Alicia is going to be making sure that there's going to be enough female representation. And indeed, there has been enough female representation. And so, Alicia, a round of applause to you and everybody else for making sure that there's gender balance. All right, so Alicia is going to come back and for this next, okay, we need her to be seated. Okay, so she'll be coming in shortly. And then we would also have Commissioner David Wright, the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission. Honorable David Wright, round of applause, please. You have to. Let's keep it going. Yep. All right, and then the next juggernaut, Ambassador Bonnie. No, sorry, we have DG. We have DG Macwood. Director General Nuclear Energy Agency. And then we have Wilhelmina Asamoah, Chief Director, Ghana Ministry of Energy. Thank you. And then we also have Dr. Lasina Zebo, Chairperson, Rwanda Atomic Energy Board. And now, I have the honor of inviting Ambassador Bonnie Jenkins, Undersecretary for Arms Control and International Security, U.S. Department of State. And as we say in Ghana, last but not the least, Professor Shaukat Abdul Razak, Director for the Division of Africa International Atomic Energy Agency. All right, so now Alicia, your high-level panel.
Thank you so much. Well, welcome to everyone on the stage. You all may not have ever seen a panel this big, but when I thought about an opportunity to have some of the national voices, I couldn't leave anyone out. And I'm very pleased to have a personal relationship with each of them that they wouldn't say no. So let me humbly thank you. And when I tell you you're in for a treat, you're in for a treat, because while they have papers in their hands, I'm not sure why, because they don't have any questions. So Commissioner, why do you have all those papers?
Because my staff gave it to me.
So they don't have any questions in advance. And that normally never happens with someone of their level. Agreed? And the reason that I wanted to do this is because you all are smart enough to use Google. You're smart enough to pull up their videos on the internet. But I thought if I were sitting in an audience and I had the opportunity to hear from people who have gone as high as one could go in nuclear space, not that there's such a thing, so don't go think that. There's not a nuclear space. But if I had that opportunity, I'd want those people to share some of the things they've learned in their lived experiences, some of the guidance and advice they would share with people who are just starting out in this space, some thoughts that they might have on what governments should be thinking about, what industry should be thinking about. And I'm glad I see a lot of youth here, because you all have a unique opportunity to hear from these people on the stage about things that someone else might not tell you, because they might not want you to go as far as you can go in this sector. So let's go ahead and get it started. So again, they don't have any questions. And I'm going to, since these are all friends, call on all of them, hopefully by title. Yeah, we'll use titles. And so that means when I call your title, I'm actually talking to you, because I will not call them by first names. Hopefully it won't slip up. All right, so let's get it started. So let's go to DG Macwood first. Hello, sir. So DG Macwood actually hired me into nuclear space. He's been a mentor and friend for far too long, decades, and he was actually the person who, by example, encouraged me to be a very loud, bold champion of gender balance. And that is a very rare thing for a male to do. But DG Macwood is, I say, unsung hero. We didn't make up a DG Macwood song, but we can by tomorrow. So DG Macwood, knowing that there is a very, very, very huge deficit of women in the nuclear sector, what would you say has been extremely helpful from the Nuclear Energy Agency perspective in getting more women and girls interested into the sector? And why has it been important to you before it was ever even cool, dating back decades? I'm not saying you're that old, I'm just saying you've been doing this for decades. Why has this been important for you?
It's an interesting question, because to say it's important to me to bring more women to the sector is probably the wrong way to think about it. I've always wanted to encourage people to make full use of their talents, their skills, their knowledge, no matter who they are, what they look like, or where they come from. And to the degree that you thought there were barriers keeping women from doing that, to me, it was just natural to knock those barriers down as much as possible. Since becoming involved in the Nuclear Energy Agency, I saw the opportunity to not just take the personal action, but to make it policy. And so, as you know, and you've been a leader in, we have made some headway into bringing it into policy space, and some success to bring it into the policy space. But the true reason I think I would put to it is that the world is in trouble in many different dimensions. And we're only going to solve these problems with the blood, sweat, tears, and talent of everybody on this planet. And if we take half the population and say, you can't play in this, we're going to fail. We're not going to be successful. We're not going to meet the climate challenge. We're not going to have economic growth. We're not going to bring people out of poverty. The problems that we've had for decades and hundreds of years will never be solved unless we bring our full potential to the challenge. And maybe one last thing I would add to this is that as I've worked with many talented women over the years, I also recognize they bring a different perspective often to problems. And as many of us have observed, and as many textbooks and studies have shown, organizations with diverse thinking perform better overall. And I certainly find that having talented men and women at the table when you're discussing complicated issues gives you a full, well-rounded viewpoint as to how problems can be approached and solved. And so, to me, it's, again, it isn't just about gender balance. It's about the success of our societies, the success of our hopes for the future. And particularly, I think, in the global South, there's so much more opportunity for women to bring their talents and their energy to solve problems. And very often you see a creative solution that's successful in the global South. It's very often you look at the person who started it and it's a woman. They're very often, and I don't know why that is. I guess the guys in the global South need to step up their game a little bit. But I'm proud to be working with so many talented women who brought so much care and passion to the issues that we face because they recognize and I recognize that our job here is to make the world a better place and to make the world a better place for generations to come.
Thank you so much. I believe, this is not a question for anyone, I believe I saw some fans in this room. Emmanuel told me he would not turn these lights down, but if we could get some fans so we don't die in the next 2 hours, I would appreciate if they could blow this direction. Thank you. All right, so Commissioner Wright. Commissioner David Wright from the Nuclear Regulatory Commission is my favorite person in the entirety of the U.S. government. He's my favorite person. He's my favorite human being. Sometimes people are in positions and they don't remember that they have to be human beings.